You know, some teams are just consistent, predictable even. The Carolina Panthers, well, they're not one of them. We're going to dive into the story of a team that was born from this wild idea to represent two entire states, and man, have they lived a life of insane highs and soul-crushing lows. This really is a history of extremes. Okay, so let's start with this logo. At first glance, it's just a cool, aggressive panther, right? But there's actually a secret hidden in plain sight. Believe it or not, the outline of the panther was specifically designed to mimic the combined shape of North and South Carolina. It was a promise, right from day one, that this team was for the whole region.
Which brings up a really good question. I mean, think about it. How in the world do you pull that off? One team for two states. That's a huge ask. And it was a pretty wild idea back in the late 80s when the team's founder, Jerry Richardson, first cooked it up.
All right, so let's get into the origin story. It all starts with this guy, Jerry Richardson. He was a former player, took a small championship bonus from 1959, and somehow turned it into a massive business. And when he saw how absolutely crazy everyone went for the Charlotte Hornets in the NBA, a light bulb went off. He thought, the Carolinas, they're ready for the NFL.
Now, this wasn't an overnight thing. Not at all. He announces the bid way back in '87. And for years, he's basically auditioning, hosting preseason games all over both states, trying to prove that people would actually show up. And finally, on October 26, 1993, the hard work paid off. The NFL owners gave a unanimous yes, and boom, just 2 years later, they were on the field.
So, how'd they do in their first year? They finished 7-9. Now you might hear that and think, okay, a losing record. But hold on. For an expansion team, a team literally built from scratch, that was unheard of. It is still the best ever record for a first-year team in NFL history. They weren't just showing up, they were making a serious statement. And if you thought that was impressive, get a load of this. The very next year, they go 12-4. They win their division and get one game away from the Super Bowl in their second season. It was just nuts. And, well, that pretty much set the tone for the absolute roller coaster that was about to come. And this is where we really get to the heart of the Panthers story. This isn't just a team, it is a roller coaster. We're talking about the highest highs, followed immediately by the lowest, most crushing lows. Let's dive in. So remember that incredible start, right? Almost making the Super Bowl? Well, just 5 years later, total collapse. In 2001, they won their first game of the season, and then they lost every single other one. 15 straight losses, 1-15. That's the Panthers for you. From the top of the conference to the absolute bottom of the league in the blink of an eye. But of course, because this is the Panthers we're talking about, they climb all the way back up from that 1-15 disaster to make it to the Super Bowl. Not once, but twice. First in 2003, they play this all-time classic against the Patriots, just an absolute heartbreaker. Then, 12 years later, after one of the most dominant seasons ever, they get there again and lose to the Broncos. Both times so close. The ultimate high followed by the ultimate low. And each of those Super Bowl runs had a different hero at the center of it all. First, you had Jake Delhomme, this gutsy underdog who led the team that called the Cardiac Cats, because they always kept you on the edge of your seat. Then you had Cam Newton, just pure electricity, an MVP who was larger than life. Two totally different guys, but both of them really embodied what this team was all about in their time. Let's just pause on that 2015 season for a second, because it was something special. I mean, 15-1, they started the year 14-0, that's insane. It's one of the best regular seasons anyone has ever had in the NFC. They weren't just squeaking by with wins, they were blowing teams out. It was pure dominance. Okay, so the wins and losses are a wild ride, for sure. But the story of the Panthers is about more than that. It's about an identity, a unique culture that they've built over the years. And a big part of that identity is just the look. They've kept it pretty much the same forever. And the colors, black, white, and that unique blue, what they call process blue. There's actually a cool story there. They designed that exact shade to be a middle ground between Duke's blue and UNC blue, to try and bring all the college rivals in the area together under one banner. Pretty smart, right? So the uniforms didn't change much, but in 2012, they did give the logo and the lettering a little facelift. It was the first time they ever touched it. They basically just made it sharper, a bit more modern and aggressive, to match the hard-hitting vibe of the team on the field.
But all of that is on the surface. If you really want to understand the soul of this team, the real culture, it all boils down to two words. And these words came from a really powerful, really emotional place.
Back in 2003, there was this beloved linebacker and coach, Sam Mills. He was in the middle of a fight with cancer, and he gave this incredibly moving speech to the team before a playoff game. He ended it by telling them, "Keep pounding." And those two words, they became everything. It's their motto, their mantra for resilience. And today, it's literally stitched inside the collar of every single jersey.
All right, so that brings us to the modern era and the team's ongoing search for that one thing they've never had, a championship.
And a huge change happened in 2018. For the first time ever, the team was sold. The founder, Jerry Richardson, sold it to David Tepper for a record-breaking amount of money. This was a massive deal, the start of a whole new chapter. And the goal was pretty clear: stop the roller coaster, build a team that can win and keep winning.
And through all of it, the good, the bad, the heartbreaking, one thing has stayed the same. They're home. They're still the team for the Carolinas. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, that's the anchor. It's the home base for fans in 2 different states who all come together for this one team.
So, that's the story so far. A history of these crazy extremes. And it really just leaves you wondering, right? What's next? Will this new era finally break the pattern and bring them that championship they've been chasing for so long? Or is the next big drop on the roller coaster just waiting around the bend? With the Panthers, you just never really know.